I'm back. Well, what have we got this time? Well, what we got this time is something I can almost guarantee you've never seen before. What about that? A Gibson Les Paul that you've never seen before. Guaranteed. About that. Shall we lift the lid and take a look? Well, here we go then. Uh-oh. It's got a shroud. It's been dead a while. Look at that. Oh. Well, here we go. Ignore the noise in the background. I don't know what they're doing there. I think they're killing chickens. But let's have a look at this. I'm going to flip the shroud. We're going to have a quick look at the surface. And then we're going to flop it out onto the orange. It should be orange, by the way. If it's not orange, something's wrong. And take a real good look at this one. An up close and personal view of this Gibson Les Paul that I guarantee you've never seen before. Here we go. Wow, well, what's that? Well, let's get it out and let's take a look up close and personal. Well, here I am. It's on the bench. We're going to take a nice close look at that in a moment, and it's different than what you might think it is. But I just want to talk a little bit about these up close and personal sort of videos. What I try to do is to show you instruments really close up so that you'll get a good idea of what they're all about. Well, some of them you can go and buy off the peg, some of them you can't. In fact, you can't buy this one. In fact, you can't buy this one at all. You can buy similar, but not the same as this one, and we'll get to explain why that is pretty soon. You know, the Jimmy Page Les Paul that I did a while back on a video. You can buy them if you can find them, but this one you can't buy it. So we'll go and take a close-up look as I normally do. We'll run through it. It's pretty much standard really as the Gibson Les Paul, except for some of the things about it, what it is, where it comes from, and its history and all that sort of stuff. So let's go take a closer look, up close and personal. Well, hey, what have we got here? Well, this is a Gibson Les Paul. It's called a Gibson Les Paul tie dye, but it's not tie dye as you'd see most of the sort of tie dyes that are out there. You know, whether they're from, I don't know, people like Dean or Fender or whoever or whatever. This was a limited run by Gibson in 1995, and they made basically they made 101 pieces, and this is number 14, so it's a very low number in it. But of all the tie dyes that I've ever seen, and I've seen an awful lot of them from around the world, different places, different times, this is the only one I've ever seen with a finish the same as this. Now, when you look at the guitar, yeah, it looks pretty standard, and that's because it is standard. It's actually a Gibson Les Paul standard. When you get down and look at this, if you get in really close, it's almost like, you know, that sort of netting stuff they use for in front of curtains. Well, they do at least in Europe, and it's like very fine netting. If I was to zoom in really close, which this probably won't do on this camera, but you could almost see the netting that makes this pattern. And it's, I can't tell you exactly how it is done, but it's almost like this netting has been dyed in some way and stuck to the body all around. In fact, when we get round the back, you'll see what I mean about that. Yeah, so it's just like it's been stuck to the body, and it's been, you know, varnished over. Now, one of the things that I do know about these guitars, you may not be able to see it on camera, but down here you start getting that that typical cracking of the finish, you know, that most Gibsons are sort of infamous for when they get older. And when you change the climate that the guitar's in, you'll get this checking or cracking of the varnish. There's some down there, some down here. It's in a number of places, but it doesn't really detract from the guitar. It's just what's to be expected on old Gibsons. 95 isn't that old, but this is this lacquer. It's quite thick lacquer from what I see, and that's probably one of the ways that they made the pattern on there. I don't know. The guy responsible was a guy named George St Piere. And if you look at the guitar just there, you'll see George St Pierre's signature. The story goes basically that George, as well as being a luthier at Gibson, and he was a very good luthier by all accounts, but he also owned a company that made t-shirts, you know, the sort of things that you and I wear. And one of his roles in life, for George at least, was that he went away and came up with an idea where he could put these patterns, these awesome patterns, different patterns, onto a Gibson Les Paul. So he went to management and he explained what he could do, and he gave him a sample. That's how the story goes. And they authorised 100 pieces, but he actually made, I think, 101, 103. Doesn't really matter. There's no more than 103 in total, and I don't think there ever will be, because George St Piere later left the company. And last time I spoke to George via email, I think he worked for a furniture company, in fact. I could be wrong what he's doing now. He might have retired. It's some years ago. But that's what he did, and I was extremely intrigued when I first saw this guitar back in 1996, give or take. It was for sale, and it didn't appear to have been second-hand in any way. You know, it was a second user. It was brand new, in a nice glass case. I won't say where it was or who was selling it and things like that. Doesn't really matter. But I paid about 12 or 13, 1400 pounds, which is about $2,000 or thereabout. I don't know, something like that, way back in 96. And they go for considerably more these days. But anyway, let's get on with it. Let's take a look at the guitar. Let's see what you get for your money, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about it afterwards, because it's a really interesting story about the Gibson Les Paul tie-dye. And I don't mean anything else that you might equate to tie-dyes. I mean the George St Piere Gibson Les Paul tie-dye. Okay, well, if you look at the body, although you can't really see it, it's going to be mahogany maple. It's, as I said, it's a Les Paul standard. It's got some nice different coloured knobs on here. I like that. Suit the style, really. Let's turn them up. Oh, it sounds louder already. Chrome for the Tune-o-matic and the stock piece and the pickups, and well, everything's chrome or plastic, cream plastic, or this, or that colour, I guess. Pickups will be 490 and 498Ts, probably 498, probably 490T, which was the standard in them days. It's probably the standard on a lot of them today, actually. And you've got the usual binding around the edge. On this one, it's quite a deep cream binding. It's not as brown as the one on the well, some of the other Les Pauls that I've got, but this is like a nice cream aged binding, and it all looks the part. Let's move on to the neck. Well, here we are on the neck. Well, what have we got? Once again, it's pretty much standard. It's got the trapezoid sort of markers that go down there. They're probably plastic. That's what happens, isn't it? It's a rosewood board by the look of it. Quite a nice board, actually. It's reasonably dark all down, and it's what you'd expect. The neck, by the way, feels fatter than like the likes of the Jimmy Page. I wouldn't say it's overly like a club, but it is fatter than some of the necks that I've played. It's quite narrow this way, or feels that at least, but it's more clubby around the back. There's, like I say, not much more you can say about it, except that it's got big fat jumbo frets. Hasn't been played much, this one. I bought this to collect, and I don't really play it, if you want the truth. Let's go look at the headstock, and then we'll go around the back where it gets more interesting. Well, the first thing that sort of sets it apart, in my view anyway, you've got no denomination of what the actual guitar is. Usually have some sort of name on here, one way or another. It just says Les Paul model. It's not designated any other way, at least here, and pretty boring. Usual sort of tuners on the top there. There's nothing special about this Les Paul in this respect, really at all. I've even seen other Les Pauls with it without anything here, but that's the way this one comes. So as we move further around, you'll get more of an idea where we're coming from with this guitar. Let's move over. Okay, well, Once you get round the back of this guitar, you start to realise that, hey, this thing's been put together in a surprisingly complicated way, because if you actually look at the back and you think of that cloth that's sort of been sort of stuck onto it and gone over, or however it is he did it, it feels like that's what he did. But it's almost like just like a regular finish, almost, not quite. Well, there it is, all over the back and the sides of this neck, and it comes down and runs the full length of the neck, which you're going to get to see, like I said, presently. Serial number of this one is 9313. What's that? 5500. So it's quite a nice number too. So it makes it 1995, which is exactly what I expect, because that's when I knew it was made. Tuners, like I said, Gibson Deluxe. Nothing special. These will probably rot off one day unless they've moved to plastic by now, which I think they had. So maybe they'll just stay there forever. Nice thin neck at the top here. No volute to protect it from cracking, as was. And let's move down to the middle of the neck. Well, like I said, it's a pretty awesome piece of work, actually. You can see that this tie-dye work goes all the way down the neck, goes all the way down here, this end, which you'll get to see in a minute. And it's just amazing to see in real life. If you're standing in front of it like I am now, then you know you'd say yourself, "Wow, what an amazing piece of work that George St Piere did." And I think that's right. Some of the other guitars that I've seen are substantially more coloured than this, but I don't think they've done any better. And indeed, out of the 100, I saw a whole series of them that were quite similar, sort of reds and sort of khaki colours mixed together. Not with this pattern, I might add, but a sort of blotched pattern. They also did some with flowers on and different things like that, but it's the only one like this, like I say, that I've seen. Let's go and have a look at the back. Well, just before we get too far away, I just wanted to show you this. It's actually serialised on the back, number 14, and every one of the ones that I've seen has its tie-dye serial number on this little hump at the back here, back of the neck. Let's have a look at the body. There's a bit of the close-up of the body, its patterning. I just wanted to get that on there so you could get a really good idea of exactly what George did. And remember, that goes around the edge of the body, over the top, over the neck, back of the neck. In fact, it's everywhere except where you play, really. Amazing. Let's have a look at the back. And here's the back of the body. Like I said, you get a really good idea of what George was up to. Round the body, sides, the whole thing, the whole deal. It's quite an amazing thing. The pattern is matched everywhere, really, even up the neck. It's quite an amazing bit of kit. In most respects, I'd say that, you know, like I said earlier, it is a Les Paul standard, but not as we know it. And I absolutely guarantee you've never seen one of these before. There's not really much to say around here. Let's go back to the front and let's have another quick look at the front. And there's a quick shot of the signature of George St Piere, which he did on every guitar, by the way. Every one that I've ever seen always has the signature across just the top of the neck there, on the body. So each one's unique, each one's handmade by George. I'm not really sure about the authenticity or not of the guitar, but of, quote, custom shop. You're not getting any more custom shop than what this guitar is by the time George is finished doing his thing with it. So would I call it a custom shop guitar? Yeah, I would, absolutely. Well, here we are back round at the front. It's basically, like I said earlier, it's a Les Paul standard, but not as you've ever seen one. Quite amazing in real life to look at, and quite unique. Every one of the 103 or 101 or however many there was there, I don't think there was ever more than 103. But every one is unique, even though some of them were sort of similar. I think I had a number 73 one as well, which was like khaki and red in blotches all over the body. That certainly isn't unique. Well, you could say it's unique because the blotches were in different places on different guitars. I've seen a green one like that and different ones, but they were all very, very similar. Like I said, this one, that's what's different about this one. I've never ever seen another tie-dye Les Paul like this one. Let's go back and have a quick chat and then wrap this one up. I'm back. Stop it. Okay, here we are back on the top, so to speak, and there's not really much more to talk about. It is what it is. Most people have never seen one, and I mean most. I've seen one, probably you haven't, and most people had never even heard of them. They are in some of the catalogues, the pricing and that sort of stuff. They typically fetch anything between in pounds, 2,500 to 4,000 these days. I think one that's as unique as this one in that series could fetch towards the top end of that, I think. Some of the other ones fetch a bit less. Some of them take a time to sell, but if you want to stand out and be seen as having a quite unique guitar, well, you don't get any more unique than what these are. And George St Piere did a fantastic job. I always thought he was an awesome guy, and every time I come back and look at this, I realise that he was. So that's it for this one. That's the up close and personal view of a Gibson Tie Dye Les Paul from 1995, and this is number 14. Hope you've enjoyed it. It's something different, and I wanted to show you that. In the series of these, there's some guitars that you can't buy, some guitars you can, like I said. There's a lot to look at. And don't forget to go to tonymckenziecom, because on my website I've actually got reviews of some of these guitars. There's some to be added yet, but some of them are on there, and some tell you information that I don't tell you on little short 10 or 15 minute videos, So that's one of the places to go and hang out. Oh, and by the way, one other thing is that case that it came out, it's down there on the floor. Those cases in them days were much better than the cases of today. I recently did a 2012 Gibson Les Paul Standard review, and if you look at the case there, that's a crappy plastic coated piece of something or other that is absolutely not like a Gibson Les Paul case as it was in 1995. Those appear to be leather handles and leather sort of coating, whereas the new ones are plastic, and that's it. So I think the old cases are nice. I'm just looking at it from here. It says on the front, the Gibson. How great's that? That's just like in the earlier part of the 1913, 1920-ish era. You see it on some of the stuff, the Gibson. Awesome stuff, and they put it on this case. So there you go. Just shows you. Anyway, go and look at the website, and I'll see you on the next one.